In the last video, we told you that BNB would behave in a certain way, and that's exactly what happened. In this video, we're going to explain how it's possible that Bitcoin is being sold off desperately, and yet, despite all this selling pressure, its price isn't dropping. What does this mean? Let's begin by analyzing the S&P 500, the leading American index. The first thing you'll notice is that we're at all-time highs. It seems that the American economy isn't facing any issues, or at least that's what the index reflects. Historically speaking, it's wise to stay positive, as the probability of the S&P 500 continuing to rise when it's at its peak is always high, with very few exceptions. So, as we said, the S&P 500 is at its highest levels, currently fighting to create a black swan event to, quite literally, reach a new milestone, a new historical high. And if you look at the tech index, it's pretty much the same story. Notice how close we are to another record high. In other words, traditional markets are in good shape, and based on what we see, we can think that we're in a good moment. In other words, we can be optimistic. And this might surprise some, but take a look at MicroStrategy. You know it's a company listed on the Nasdaq, and at Crypto Insight, we keep a close eye on it because of its correlation with Bitcoin. Look at how its price closed yesterday, almost reaching its most recent high. In other words, MicroStrategy is very close to hitting a new all-time high. Now, the question you should be asking yourself is, how can we extrapolate this to the cryptocurrency market? For Bitcoin, we've moved to a daily time frame. We won't dive into theory, but the market moves through impulses and corrections. Regarding corrections, there are several types, and this one we label as complex. As I said, we won't go into detail, but to sum it up and keep it simple, we have a boundary here which we call the Z guideline, or, in this case, a macro defense zone. As long as this zone isn't broken, the formation can continue. This type of context isn't only seen in Bitcoin, but in many assets within the crypto ecosystem. That's why, aside from being positive about traditional markets, we're also optimistic about cryptocurrencies in the medium to long term. This is nothing new, and remember, we're on the daily time frame, where each candle represents a day. Imagine the time it takes to eventually generate a black swan event and then move on to new all-time highs. Yes, Bitcoin is just around the corner from its most recent all-time high. This is something we shouldn't lose sight of, as I get the feeling that many people still think we're in a bear market. And while it's true, this entire upward move stems from the need to correct that previous downward impulse. That impulse still dominates, but that doesn't mean a complex correction, like the ones we see in cryptocurrencies, can't drive the price back to all-time highs. This correction can easily continue, and that's the outlook we have at Crypto Insight. Alright, let's move to the 4-hour time frame. In this defense zone, we're seeing how the asset is being compressed, how Bitcoin is being squeezed. This breakout was simply a warning of what was going to happen next. Here is where the origin of the breakout lies, which is why the price came back to test the breakout point, something incredibly common. So this type of reaction doesn't surprise us much. Now, if we zoom in and go to the 1-hour time frame, we'll notice that the test at the breakout origin is, at the same time, a compression against a key structure. In other words, it's an accumulation process that has propelled Bitcoin upwards. We've already analyzed this in previous sessions. However, all this upward movement is still just the correction that follows the downward impulse. It's a complex correction, like the macro correction we see on Bitcoin's daily chart, but on a much smaller time frame. That's why we've identified this boundary on the 1-hour time frame for Bitcoin. It tells us that if the price can respect that structure, even if it slightly fakes it out, but still holds, we might see continued positive and bullish movement in the short to medium term. But we can go deeper. Let's move to the 15-minute time frame and consider that. In relation to the defense zone you saw on the 1-hour chart, it also looks like the price is being compressed once again against a key structure. This could be a signal of what's to come. Little by little, we're getting closer to where you want to go. So, if we analyze the volume, the only useful indicator for discretionary analysis, we'll notice something interesting. Take a look at this drop here and how significant transaction volume came in, yet it couldn't immediately continue pushing the price lower. This effort led to an adverse result. In other words, the drop seems to be getting bought up. And once again, notice the wick. A large wick with substantial contextual volume, but it didn't push the price down further. Not to mention this wick, which in just 15 minutes dropped by 0.58%, only to recover in the same 15 minutes, showing abnormal volume. Here too, I don't see the price falling. Everything points to and everything indicates that these drops, unable to continue lower and exposed by significant volume, are being absorbed. Now, for the newcomers, does this mean we're going to see an immediate adverse move? Absolutely not. Large institutions need time to build their positions, because if they did it all at once, they wouldn't be able to achieve their goal. But that's a topic for an entire video on its own. And take a look. We're now observing the same price range but using order flow, looking inside the candles. We want to understand how the price has been auctioned. Keep in mind that we're focused on all this compression on the 15-minute time frame, even though this is honed over a macro defense zone that has already broken, signaling what would come next. Just to give you some context, remember, we're evaluating whether this will break or not in the future, but for now, let's assess what's been happening here. Notice the red cluster, how that sell order stands out in the lowest part of the candle? They tried to sell aggressively there, but there was no way to push the price down. Now, look at this new drop. How do we see sales coming in? And the biggest cluster turns out to be a strong buy, and still, nothing. No way to push it lower. See here, look at the selling pressure. I don't think you need to ask whether that effort yielded results. I think it's clear. Just like here, we can identify sellers. That selling went somewhere. I'm showing you order flow in case you don't trust the traditional chart. But here we're seeing completely objective data. Now, interpreting that data is another story, and that can be wrong. But the data itself doesn't lie. And if you're wondering, why are we paying such close attention to the price level of $61,940? In other words, this yellow line. Well, we're simply evaluating that if prices decide to move upward explosively sooner rather than later, we want to understand where the pain point is. In other words, we know that at this level, there are sellers who are struggling because their position has been going against them for a long time. If the price reaches that point, those sellers would close their positions, turning them into buyers, and the buying could help trigger a move upward. That's why we are waiting to see if the price wants to drop. And here we will assess whether they are ready to break this right away, which could happen quite immediately. We're simply putting the possibility of this quick move on the table. Do we know if this will happen? Of course not. No one has any certainty, but what we're going to study is whether this level holds. Look, as we're recording this video, they're attacking the level with strength. That's what we need to evaluate. If it holds and starts to rise, we would need to believe in this breakout and its continuation. That's the summary. Because if this cluster doesn't have the effect we've described, what would that mean? Well, it would lead us to climactic actions in, simple as that. It would imply that after this impulse channel range, we would see a strong move. If the smart money doesn't want to use this suffering for an immediate purpose, it means it wouldn't be hard for them to scare the market with a sharp drop. Then later, things don't change. We'd aim to break the creek, which is this structure, create a black swan event, and look upwards. Do you see how we're using this price level and its reaction? It's crucial and gives us very qualitative information. And while I'm recording this video, my colleague Yuj is also live streaming this information and much more to the members of Crypto Insight Premium. As for BNB, I also need to tell you that we've identified a key zone that has helped us pinpoint the current situation. Once again, we've used the order flow chart, and now I'll explain why this level is so essential and critical. But before that, welcome to Crypto Insight, your ethical and moral channel for cryptocurrency technical analysis. Here, we really know what we're talking about. We conduct advanced technical analysis that has been developed for over 12 years. We upload videos several times a week. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, let me know and leave a comment with your opinion. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click on the bell so you don't miss the next opportunity. Let's continue with the analysis. Look, this blue line represents what you saw earlier on the Bitcoin order flow chart. Let's see how it performs. It will be interesting to track because it will confirm what I explained a moment ago. Now, let's take a very selective look at certain assets. We're going to analyze BNB. Look at the 1-hour chart. BNB has essentially been working through a complex corrective pattern on this 1-hour chart. Here we have the impulse. Here's the W, the weak Y, and all of this forms a Z. Remember, ZS in complex corrective patterns can be explosive, which is why the price keeps rising and rising. Now, the question is whether the Z has collapsed to the downside, signaling a continued downward move. Has this happened? The answer is no. So what's the prudent course of action? Let's follow the Z in its direction, in this case upward. And now I'm telling you, wouldn't it be great if BNBI could break through that structure upward with some ease? It would mean that smart money doesn't respect that kind of structure, and this could take off. So, under this hypothesis where we're in a Z, and this could keep rising as much as it wants, let's evaluate how to accompany it. I'm going to explain something a bit advanced, but trust me, you'll find it very useful. First, you need to ask a simple question. Is this drop genuine? Ask yourself that. Think about it. The price has continued to rise afterward. So, again, is this drop genuine? If the price has gone up afterward, keep questioning whether it's sincere and speculate on why you think what you do. I'll tell you that these kinds of drops, which are clearly manipulated, need us to identify where the maximum point of deception lies. Smart money had to sell at some point against itself to create a feeling of a plunge, only to then make the true move. Essentially, that sell-off is still in the market. Therefore, the price in a retracement can recover smart money that sell-off used just to deceive. That's where we'll wait for continuity. Now, let's analyze this drop. You can see it here. Let's zoom in a bit. This is the order flow chart, and the drop, to give you some context, is this entire section. I've definitely noticed these clusters that have driven the entire drop, without a doubt. But look at this stacking, this set of aggressive selling clusters that catapulted the price downward like a trap, only to reverse later. This price zone is where I'm focusing my attention. That's why we've drawn a rectangle and moved it to the right. This will be the area where, if the price falls, we'll expect some reaction. If smart money wants the price to keep rising in the short term, it must not break this price zone for BNB, which is between $579 and $578.03. So, if we see BNB attacking this zone and it respects it without breaking downward, it could likely be the pivot point for strong upward continuity. And now, notice the volatility we're experiencing during this recording. It's clear they want to play, to create damage, to target those key levels, and it doesn't seem like it will take too long. And yes, you'll see this later on YouTube, but as I was saying, we do live sessions daily in Crypto Insight Premium, and all of this is viewed in real time. So, if you want to be part of Crypto Insight Premium, where I tell you our members are constantly improving, you can do so through this access form. You'll need to be a user of Bitget, Binx, or BitUnix with our referral code, have deposited a minimum of $100 in cryptocurrencies into your account, and use this account as your main futures trading account. This is essential to stay in the group, as will be explained later. Once you meet these 3 requirements, you can fill out the form, which asks you about 5 or 6 questions. You'll find this form in the description and in the pinned comment of this video. Our friends at BitUnix have an active promotion for the Crypto Insight community. That's really interesting. If you deposit $100, they'll give you $25 in futures bonuses. If you deposit $300, you'll get $45. And if you deposit $500, they'll give you $75. You can find all the information about this promotion for new users on their website. I'll leave the link in the description and in the pinned comment of this video. To trade futures on BitUnix, all you have to do is go to the futures section. On their platform, you'll find a huge variety of assets to trade with and from, whether the price goes up or down. They also have a very advanced trading panel, so don't hesitate to join Bitcoin, which will give you access to Crypto Insight Premium. Remember, BitUnix doesn't require KYC personal identification, and you can access it from anywhere in the world without needing a VPN. And keep in mind that at BuyDeFi, you can also perform your futures trades in the USDTM derivatives section. In the same way, you'll find an immense number of assets to trade with, and their platform is highly competitive, which again allows you to access Crypto Insights Premium. I'll leave the access form in the description and in the pinned comment of this video. We've seen how Bitcoin has broken through that level we were monitoring. It wasn't too complicated to achieve, and this is where we assess that climatic action. Could this be enough, or could it give us something more? Honestly, it could give us something more, and this is indicated by BNB. Notice if there's still a path to consider the possibility of relatively soon coming back and trying to break through these key structures in the crypto ecosystem, not just in Bitcoin, but eventually in the future in Ethereum, in Solana, which is already showing its downward climatic action. Frankly, things could get very interesting. We're also looking at Cardano, where we're analyzing a Z-shaped wedge that seems poised to drop, and DOT, which is already breaking through the defense zone. Let's see if this is a trap or what it is. But look, we're searching for the extreme point where we think that if they want to rise, they need to do it almost immediately. Otherwise, the short-term bullish hypothesis would be sidelined by what the market tells us. Keep an eye on Bitcoin and BNB. There are possibilities for long positions. Now tell me, what do you think? Are you feeling positive or negative for the short term? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Also, give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell so YouTube notifies you of future posts. Good luck with your trading, and see you next time.